A man in northern Sweden opened his car door on a quiet forest road in 1978 and never saw the animal standing 6 feet from the bumper. He didn't hear it either. That silence is the part that should unsettle you. Something that weighs as much as a small car can stand that close to a grown adult and go completely unnoticed until it's too late to matter. Here's the strange part. This isn't a predator. It doesn't hunt. It doesn't stalk. We're talking about the moose today. The moose is the largest living member of the deer family on Earth. Not one of the largest by a wide margin. A mature bull can reach nearly 10 feet in body length, stand over 7.5 feet at the shoulder, and weigh anywhere from 800 to 1,500 pounds. In the Russian Far East and parts of Canada, individuals have been recorded at over 1,400 pounds, heavier than an average horse, and not by a small amount. Numbers like that read as abstract until you're standing in front of one. A forest ranger I spoke with while researching this described her first close encounter this way. The animal didn't seem to walk into her field of vision so much as the trees themselves seemed to rearrange around it. That's the sensation people report over and over: less big animal, and more the landscape just changed. Growing up, plenty of people in moose country develop the opposite reaction: familiarity. See enough of them from a car window and they start to blend into the scenery, just another shape in the trees. That comfort is exactly what makes moose country dangerous for people who have lived there their whole lives. Complacency kills more people around large wildlife than fear ever does. None of this size is accidental either. Northern winters bury the forest floor under 2 feet of snow or more. Long legs function as built-in stilts. A massive frame stores heat through months where temperatures drop to 40 below and holds enough fat reserve to survive a season with almost no food available. The moose isn't oversized by chance. It's oversized because the alternative is not surviving winter at all. This animal looks like it was assembled from spare parts. A short neck sits on a compact body, but the legs are wildly disproportionate, long, thin, and mismatched, with the front pair noticeably longer than the back. Because of that mismatch, a moose can't simply lower its head to drink from a stream. It has to kneel on its wrists, awkwardly like it's bowing. Watch that same animal in deep water, though, and the awkwardness disappears. Those long legs let it stand chest-deep in a lake and pull aquatic plants straight off the bottom without ever needing to dive. Function first, appearance second. That's the theme of this whole animal. The face tells its own story. A heavy humped nose sits above a swollen upper lip that hangs well past the lower one. That lip isn't decorative. It's extremely mobile and sensitive, used almost like a hand to grip branches, strip leaves, and feel out food by touch. The same basic principle as an elephant's trunk, scaled down. Ears the size of dinner plates rotate independently, each one tracking a different sound source from over a mile away. Eyesight, by contrast, is almost an afterthought. A motionless person 50 yards off can go completely unnoticed. It doesn't matter much, though. A moose relies on smell and hearing first, and both are sharp enough to make eyesight close to irrelevant. Under the throat hangs a strange flap of skin called a bell, sometimes growing over a foot long. Nobody fully agrees on its purpose. Some biologists think it helps regulate temperature. Others think it helps moose identify one another. A few researchers suspect it's simply a leftover of evolution that never caused enough trouble to disappear. Whatever the reason, bulls with larger bells tend to attract more attention from cows during breeding season. So at minimum, it's doing something. Here's a run of facts most people never hear about this animal, back to back. Fur is hollow, working like a built-in thermos that traps warm air against the skin. 23 degrees Fahrenheit is when a moose starts feeling hot. 50 degrees is when it actively seeks out water or shade to cool down. Hooves spread wide like natural snowshoes, keeping a half-ton animal from sinking where a horse would drown up to its belly. And if the ground gets too soft even for that, a moose will drop to its belly and crawl, pushing forward with its back legs like something out of a nature documentary nobody expects to see. Now for the thing that genuinely surprised me while researching this. Everyone pictures a horse kicking backward, a strong, simple rear strike. A moose can do that too, but it is something a horse doesn't. The ability to strike forward with both front hooves independently in a sharp, twisting motion. Wildlife biologists describe it as closer to a boxer's combination than a standard animal kick. One clean front hoof strike to a predator's skull can end a fight instantly. That's precisely why even a healthy brown bear generally avoids tangling with an adult moose out in open ground. The risk-to-reward math simply doesn't favor the bear. Bears that do hunt moose tend to target them in dense brush instead, where a moose's movement and its ability to land those strikes cleanly gets restricted. A cow defending a calf uses this exact tactic. She positions herself directly between the threat and her young, then hammers away with her front legs until the danger retreats. Watch footage of it happening, and it stops looking like prey defending itself, and starts looking like something closer to a fight the predator is genuinely losing. Speed adds another layer most people underestimate. At an easy pace, a moose can hit 35 miles an hour, faster than most cars accelerate off the line. And it doesn't sacrifice control doing it, weaving through dense trees and deadfall at full speed without missing a step. Running one on foot in the forest is close to impossible. Hiding isn't much easier, since its nose and ears will usually find you before your eyes find it. There's one practical piece of survival advice worth remembering here. If you're ever too close to an agitated moose, find a wide tree and slowly circle it, keeping the trunk between you and the animal at all times. It isn't hunting you, it doesn't need to. But it might charge 2 or 3 times before deciding you're not worth the trouble, and 2 or 3 charges from something this size is not a minor inconvenience. Antlers deserve their own chapter, because nothing else about a moose grows quite like this. A mature bull's antler spread can reach nearly 6 feet across, almost 2 body lengths of an adult human, and weigh up to 77 pounds combined. Try to picture carrying 2 fully packed suitcases balanced on your skull for months at a time. That's roughly the daily reality for a bull in peak condition. Size isn't even the strangest part. Growth speed is. Every single year without exception, a bull sheds his antlers completely, usually in November or December, and grows an entirely new set from nothing, starting around April or May. They expand at close to an inch a day, making them the fastest-growing living tissue of any mammal known to science. No other bone in any animal researchers have studied regenerates at that pace. During growth, the antlers stay soft, covered in thin, blood-rich skin that hunters call velvet. A bull is noticeably more cautious during this period. A stray branch or an insect bite genuinely hurts. By late summer, the velvet gets scraped off against trees and brush in a process that looks brutal, with shredded skin and visible blood, but is completely normal. What's left underneath is hard, sharp, and ready for the one job antlers exist to do: winning a fight for a mate. Shape and structure vary by individual and by region. Some moose grow the classic wide shovel form. Others grow a narrower, more pointed deer-like pattern, and both are considered normal within the species. Either way, bigger antlers signal age and strength, and biologists can estimate a moose's age from antler structure almost the way a tree's rings reveal its age. And here's something most people never think to ask. What happens to all those shed antlers lying in the forest every winter? They don't sit there as dead weight. Mice, squirrels, rabbits, even other moose gnaw on them almost immediately, drawn to the calcium and phosphorus packed inside. In a northern forest where minerals are scarce all winter, a shed antler is essentially buried treasure. Finding one fully intact in the wild is rare, precisely because they get eaten that fast. Water is where this animal turns unexpectedly graceful. A moose can cross several miles of open water without stopping and dive as deep as 20 feet, chasing lily roots and pond plants dense, with nutrients the forest floor simply doesn't offer. Special valves seal the nostrils shut automatically underwater, letting it stay submerged for close to 3 minutes at a stretch, biting off stems, surfacing for air, and diving right back down. That underwater habit occasionally puts a moose somewhere it never expected to be in danger. Off the coasts of Alaska and Canada, there are documented cases, not folklore, documented, of orcas ambushing moose swimming between islands. On land, this animal answers to almost nothing. In open ocean, it has no advantage at all. Food consumption matches the scale of everything else. An adult bull can eat up to 66 pounds of plant material a day, roughly 3 full grocery bags, every single day with no days off. Diet shifts with the seasons. Grass, leaves, and aquatic plants in summer, twigs and bark by winter. Summer months also bring mushrooms into the mix, including species with mild hallucinogenic effects, and moose that overindulge on fermented, overripe fruit late in the season have been documented behaving visibly disoriented, the forest equivalent of one too many drinks. Saliva plays an odd supporting role here too. It contains compounds that actually stimulate faster regrowth in the plants a moose browses on, meaning the animal isn't just consuming the forest, it's actively reshaping it every time it eats. Every year, something happens to this animal that biologists still describe like watching a switch get flipped. Late summer brings the rut, and a bull during this period is functionally a different creature. Feeding drops off almost entirely. Over 2 months, a bull can lose up to 220 pounds, while nightly movement increases dramatically, with bulls covering 30 to 40 miles in a single night searching for a mate. Self-preservation, caution, the lifelong habit of avoiding people. None of it survives contact with the hormonal override that takes place during these weeks. Sound becomes part of the ritual too. Bulls produce a low, carrying bellow that travels for miles through dense forest, and cows answer with calls of their own that bulls respond to almost instantly. When 2 bulls converge on the same cow, the result is a collision loud enough to hear from a third of a mile away, antlers locking with a sharp crack of bone on bone, sometimes resolving in seconds, sometimes turning into a prolonged shoving match that lasts minutes before the weaker animal backs down. Occasionally, it goes worse than that. Antler points hook together and lock permanently, leaving both bulls unable to separate. Biologists periodically find these pairs in the forest, dead of exhaustion and starvation, still joined by the very weapons that were supposed to win them a mate. It's rare, but it happens often enough that it's a documented, recognized outcome of the season. During the rut, bulls will charge at almost anything unfamiliar that moves or makes noise: snowmobiles, lawnmowers, tractors, cars. An animal that would normally clear off a road from 50 yards out might, mid-rut, turn and attack the vehicle instead. That single behavioral shift is a major reason autumn ranks as one of the most dangerous seasons for moose vehicle collisions across the entire northern hemisphere. After the rut ends, bulls shed their antlers, no longer useful, and head into winter alone, thin and depleted. Cows, meanwhile, are pregnant and preparing for the hardest stretch of the year. Pregnancy lasts between 225 and 240 days, with calving arriving in April or May. Most cows give birth to 1 or 2 calves. 3 is a genuine rarity. Newborns arrive light reddish-brown without spots, weighing between 13 and 35 pounds, and for the first several days their legs barely support their weight. The mother licks them clean, keeps them warm, and feeds them milk that's remarkably rich, up to 19% fat, roughly 3 times fattier than cow's milk from a dairy animal. Growth from there is fast. By fall of their very first year, calves already weigh close to 280 pounds, a growth rate most domestic livestock can't come close to matching. May, though, is genuinely dangerous. A cow with a newborn calf is considered the single most volatile combination in the northern forest, more dangerous, by most wildlife agency rankings, than an encounter with a bear or a wolf. Cows attack first during this period without warning, without waiting to be approached. It's also the season when yearling calves, freshly chased off by their mothers to start life independently, wander into unfamiliar territory, including roads they've never learned to avoid. This is the part of the moose story that gets talked about the least, and it deserves more attention than it gets. Across Russia, Scandinavia, and North America, the moose, not the bear, not the wolf, is officially the most dangerous animal for drivers. The physics explain why. A moose's center of gravity sits over 3 feet above the ground, so a vehicle collision clips the legs out from under it, sending a carcass weighing 600 to over 1,300 pounds forward and down, straight into the windshield and roof instead of the hood. Crumple zones and airbags are engineered for a frontal impact, not an impact from above, which is exactly why these collisions are disproportionately fatal. Russia records roughly 700 moose-related accidents annually. In a single recent year, 92 people died and over 900 more were injured in these crashes. In the United States, wildlife vehicle collisions involving moose and deer combined reach into the millions annually, with hundreds of confirmed fatalities tied specifically to moose impacts due to their size and collision profile. There's a behavioral quirk that makes this worse. Unlike deer, which bolt the instant headlights hit them, a moose tends to stop and stare, assessing the situation the way it would assess an unfamiliar predator. That instinct worked for thousands of years against threats that gave off scent and moved like living things. A car does neither, and the decision-making process that kept moose alive for millennia simply breaks down, sometimes ending with the animal stepping directly into the vehicle's path at the worst possible moment. If you're ever driving through moose country at night and see a wildlife crossing sign, slow to 25 miles an hour, not because of the sign itself, because at highway speed, you will not be able to stop in time. A moose can step out of the tree line in under a second. Now for the part of this story that genuinely surprised me the most. Humans have been trying to tame this animal for a very long time, much longer than most people assume. Archaeological sites on the Russian plain, dating back 10,000 to 13,000 years, show moose bones making up as much as 70% of all animal remains found, alongside sled runners that suggest moose were being used for transport before horses or reindeer ever entered the picture in that region. That relationship continued for millennia. Northern communities across Russia harnessed moose to sleds well into the 19th century. Sweden used them as postal animals, with couriers delivering mail by moose-drawn sled right up until riding them was banned by police, because criminals kept using moose to outrun pursuit. An 18th century decree in the Baltic region, under Peter the Great, specifically forbade riding a moose into the city for exactly the same reason. On the eve of World War II, Soviet military planners seriously explored using moose as cavalry mounts, reasoning that they could cross swamps and deadfall no horse could manage, needed no imported feed, and moved almost silently through dense terrain. The project never fully materialized before the war intervened, though a handful of experimental units genuinely existed. After the war, several moose farms operated across the USSR, attempting to breed a domesticated line the way reindeer had been bred for the tundra. Today, only one farm remains anywhere in the world, a small operation in Russia's Kostroma region, where a handful of staff have kept a herd of around 40 animals alive since the 1990s, at times without pay. Despite 10,000 years of effort, full domestication never happened, and the reasons are specific. Each moose requires roughly 1,000 acres of territory and can't be kept in groups the way horses or cattle can. Its heart is small relative to its body size, meaning it tires after just a handful of miles where a horse can walk for hours. Its mouth is built for stripping branches, not for a bit, making it extremely difficult to control with standard tack. And most importantly, no matter how long it lives around people, it never fully loses its wildness. A loud noise, an unfamiliar scent, a sudden movement, and instinct simply takes over. Winter reveals another side of this animal entirely. Cold isn't something a moose tolerates, it's something it actively prefers. Above 23 degrees Fahrenheit, it starts feeling overheated. By 50 degrees, it's actively seeking shade or water. In severe winter cold, a moose will bed down directly in loose snow with only its head exposed, minimizing heat loss while its oversized ears continue rotating like radar, tracking sound even at rest. March brings the hardest stretch, when snow depth peaks and even a half-ton animal struggles to move efficiently. Daily movement can drop to under half a mile, with herds settling into what hunters call a gathering ground for days at a time. Hunger and restricted movement during this period push young, inexperienced moose toward an unexpected destination: towns. Around Anchorage, Fairbanks, and smaller communities across Alaska, moose sightings in residential neighborhoods have become a near-daily occurrence during winter months. The appeal is simple: less snow, easier food access, no predators. Homeowners regularly wake up to Christmas trees stripped bare, ornamental shrubs gone, and garden beds cleared up to 6 feet high, all courtesy of a nighttime visitor nobody heard arrive. This proximity isn't harmless. In Anchorage's Kincaid Park alone, attacks on people happen with enough regularity that local news treats them as a recurring seasonal story rather than a rare event. A retiree hospitalized trying to photograph one. A young man taking a hoof to the chest hard enough to cause a concussion. February and March rank as the most dangerous months specifically because young bulls, recently chased off by their mothers, roam unfamiliar territory hungry, anxious, and quick to perceive threat where none exists. Russia's current moose population sits at roughly 700,000 animals, recovered from near collapse in the early 20th century, when overhunting nearly wiped the species out of central Russia entirely. Protected areas, reduced wolf populations, and young forest regrowth following logging all contributed to that recovery. Young forest produces exactly the kind of fresh shoots moose depend on. This animal doesn't simply live in the northern forest, it actively shapes it. Feeding knocks down young trees and creates clearings. Movement patterns fertilize soil across huge territories. Predator populations depend on it directly as a food source. Remove the moose from a northern ecosystem, and biologists agree the forest changes irreversibly within a generation. That's really the whole story here when you step back from it. Not vicious, not gentle. Not fully dangerous, not remotely harmless. Just enormous, unusually intelligent for its size, and completely uninterested in fitting into a category built by anyone but itself. An animal that's lived alongside humans for 10,000 years, worked alongside them in some form for most of that time, and never once fully agreed to submit. Have you ever run into one of these, closer than you'd like? On a trail, on a highway, maybe somewhere you never expected? Drop it in the comments. Judging by how often this happens across moose country, there are a lot more of you with a story than you'd think. If this changed how you see an animal you thought you already understood, that's exactly the goal of this channel. Subscribe for more of this every week, and I'll see you in the next one.